Well, hey, welcome back. We're about to get into the activation, and this is Mark. So let's see. Before we start getting to actually using the tool, I want to show you a couple of little. Um, Want to show you a couple new features that I added. Um, I'm not sure how well I can show it, but I can explain it. Okay, so in many of the scenarios. Well, we'll look at this in a second, this activation stuff. But um, the app has been updated where now you can specify for certain unit types like amphibious, tankers, convoys, marine positioning, basically anything that could be like loaded and anything that's generally used um, as something that is part of your mission objectives. You can set those to be removable during the setup phase. Okay, so I did. I went ahead and went backwards, redid some things, and updated this save file so that all of the convoys and such are removable. But generally, you can do that now during your setup phase. Okay. Now, what that allows you to do is when they get to the point where they either reach, like if the Soviet convoys reach Cambran, we can now remove them from play. Okay, so you can at least not have to like fake that part, which makes it easier for, making sure people don't attack them or etc. Right? So you can just remove them from. Now, when you do that, it'll pop up this menu, which is the VP menu that I just added in. And that VP menu will allow you to update the VPs for however the VP should be updated based on that action. Okay, so no automation that automatically calculates the VPs, but automation that will allow you to remove the unit from the board, and then allows you to keep track of your VPs. And most of the scenarios I noticed do it from a perspective of one side, and then you basically add and subtract numbers based on things. Well, you can do it like that, or you can do it however you want, right? Because really, at any point, as long as you give points to people, right? Anytime you try to minus points, you could just give it to the opposite side, right? And then it's just going to create a difference between these two values, and then you can just do the math and say, hey, it's at -5. So essentially, this is a way of you not having to use a notepad to keep track of BP. You can keep track of it right here. Okay, so um, let's see. So I think let's check the features, make sure we got everything still on. Land combat's off, everything else is good. All right, so we're ready to go. So let's see here. We're going to do activation. Okay, so let's go through the rules of activation. Essentially, it is the rules that the game uses. Okay, and essentially, for surface, we've already passed the phase where you can organize into task forces. So now all you can activate is either a task force or a stack of ships. And when you create a stack of ships that are in the same hex, it'll create a new type of group that's kind of like a task force, but it's an activation group. You don't get any benefits for activation groups as per the rules. You only get benefits for actual task forces that you set up. Now, activation groups, when they get attacked, you'll be able to move things around just like a normal task force. But like I said, you won't get any combat bonuses per the rules. Okay, so air is the same way. So you don't move air pieces around, you move activation groups of air around. So I'll show you how to kind of create those activation groups. We're pretty much going to activate everything, and then going to kind of show you how everything's going to be activated at once and everything moves at once. And so it really makes it much more of a real-time kind of um, feature, and all of the artificial way that the physical game has you do all of your one side at one time, and then someone has to pick the other side. This gives people a lot of flexibility to basically just kind of run this as a normal game would be, right? Without the physical game limitations. All right. So one key feature here is you do not have to do all activations at this time. So um, let's say I only want to activate a couple of things, right? Like for instance, where I would see this best used is I might not activate an air group off the carrier because I maybe want the carrier to get in range of a target before I launch, right? Because ranges are important, and the amount of distance that these aircraft can carry, you may want to wait until your ship has gone, has gotten close enough in order to fire. Okay, so let's figure out what we want to do here. I'm just going to start activating, and then as I bring up discussion points, I'll kind of discuss them. Okay, so what we're going to do is, let's see, we'll just go. I'm not going to activate any aircraft yet because I think, I'm looking at the distances 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Mm, I mean, it's pretty much within range, but I'd like to have some flexibility to be maybe within 10 hexes so that I can utilize, if I need to, I can utilize, reduce load or something like that. So there's no need to activate the aircraft right now. I can do it later on in this particular turn. Now, be careful. The only thing, once we start getting into the action cycle, the thing you have to realize is that the action cycle will only continue until you basically have nothing left to do or you have no orders set up. Okay. So we're going to show how we do orders, but what you have to keep in mind, right, is let's say you activate a couple of surface groups and you don't tell them to go anywhere, and you have no air groups. Air groups are always constantly moving, they have to be. So, but if you have from your side nothing's going on, then if the other side is doing the same thing, then the activation phase is going to end, right? So essentially, the activation phase will end. It'll keep going around in circles, basically allowing you to activate more things, allowing you to move things until you really have nothing left to do, or you intentionally don't do anything during a pass of that automation. Okay, so I don't think that's really going to come into play. Most people are just going to activate stuff and move them, and generally, when they get to the point where things are finished moving and they're finished attacking things, that they're pretty much just going to hit skip when they get to their orders phase, and then when both teams skip, it'll essentially end the action phase. Okay, so as we go, we're just going to go around and activate pretty much everything. All right, so first of all, I don't want to create an activation group from my air yet. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna activate this task force. Okay, boom. And as you activate it, then it doesn't bring them up anymore, for this phase at least. So this phase is your activation loop. So I'm gonna activate pretty much everything. Um, I'm going to not activate my air, so I'll just keep skipping past them. I'm not gonna activate the aircraft on the ground yet, in the Philippines. I'm going to wait a little bit, and that's now you have that kind of flexibility, right? You can kind of wait to see the situation develop, or you can send things out. Like for the Russians, when I get to the Russians, I'm probably going to activate all their aircraft because or at least I'm going to activate all the recon assets, right? Because I want the recon assets to head out and search for things. For the Americans, I have, subs. I probably could activate one of these. In fact, I'll probably do that. I'll activate one of these P3s, and then I'll have them kind of searching around and looking for surface groups and stuff. So I'm going to create an activation group here. What that tells me is basically what I can do now is I can either, let's see. So in this group, right, I could also add this guy to that group. So this is how it kind of works, right? So at the point where you activate a group, so let's just kind of close everything down so you can kind of understand it a little more. Okay. Um, okay. So once I created an activation group, basically now the game automatically changes its perspective where now the only things that I can choose right now is that group to activate or another plane that's in the same hex that I might want to add to the activation group. Okay. So notice there's only two things I can do right now. Okay. And again, the use of the next button is a good way of knowing like what you got to do. Okay. So I don't want to add both planes to this particular activation group. So I'm just going to go to the activated group, and I'm going to complete its activation. Bang. Okay. I'm going to activate all my subs. When you activate subs, it starts going to a subroutine to say, hey, do you want to move them as full speed? Because full speed can be done, I believe, yeah, for subs, you can pick full speed at any particular phase, right? In other words, meaning I don't for surface. If I want to go high speed, I have to do it in the morning, right? And it covers all 3 turns of the day. But for subs, each turn, day, AM, PM, and night, I have the flexibility to either go them at full or not. I'm assuming I'm pretty close. I don't remember exactly where the Russian stuff is, so I really don't want to run them full because if I run them full, they're going to get strategically detected. So I'm just going to say normal. Okay, activate, normal, activate. Again, I'm going to keep everything normal. There's no reason for the. All right, I'm going to create an activation. So notice these guys aren't in TFs, so I can't create TFs. I wasn't able to create TFs because you can't create a task force when it's only one guy, but I can create an activation group. Okay, so I'll create an activation group, and I think this thing will be smart enough to know there's nothing else to add in this, so it probably just won't even add. It won't even ask me to add other ships to it because there's only one ship in here, so there's nothing else you can do. Yep, that's what it did. Okay, so now you just basically use whenever you don't know what to do or you want to know what to do, just use the next button and it'll just keep going through all your options. Okay. All right. I'm gonna go backwards. Yeah, I'm gonna activate that guy. I'm going to activate, I think the other guy here. All right. And notice that all right, so let's see what else we got. I think that's about it. I'm not sure there's any other aircraft or things that I want to activate at this time. Oh, no, there's this task force here. That's got all of the, um, and we're going to just continue. Let's see, create activation groups. All right, so I think we're done with all the activations you want to do. I don't want to do any air moves at this point for the Americans other than that activation group that I created for the recon. Okay. All right, so I think we're done here. So I'm gonna hit next. This should now transfer over to now this pop-up is something that if you're playing solitaire and you don't need it popping up, then you can turn this off. Um, you can turn this off by going through your settings, right? And then you would switch off pause when switching side views. You turn that to off. Okay. So I'm gonna leave it on. Um, well, no, I'm gonna turn it off because we're playing around. So okay, no warnings, useful for solitaire. Okay, great. All right, so now we're gonna do the Russians. Okay, so uh, hmm. So what I think I can do is, I can kind of create it really depends on how you want to do this, right? Um, what's fun is you can kind of really plan out what you want to do. Okay, so you may not even have a target, right? But you can launch aircraft because if you have the setting, which we do, air surface detections and combat on, then essentially I can search for stuff, or I can have this aircraft loitering around here as long as I keep it moving, and I can do that by setting like a path, right? Then as I'm moving my ships around and somebody sights something, then I can then vector my aircraft to attack. Okay, so so it all depends on like timing, right? So at this point, timing and you figuring out like how you move your aircraft and your ships around and placing your aircraft in a proper position to be able to react, right? And then the other concept is that aircraft move faster than ships, right? So an aircraft during the automation, the automation will move aircraft 10 hexes for every hex that it moves um, ships. Okay, so I think what we're going to do is we'll create like an activation group that will be pretty much what some bombers and probably some, I think there's an EW in here. So we'll have that. So at least they'll get some things there. So what are we going to do here? All right. So yeah, I'm going to create an activation group. All right. So for aircraft, you get a bunch of other stuff. Okay. So aircraft, when you activate it, you'll be able to do certain things, right? You can do extended range, and it'll half your ordnance. You can do high mission profile, but you're going to get some modifiers, some bad modifiers, right? The enemy will get some modifiers, but it increases your range. Or you can reduce your range, right? If I know exactly where I'm going and I don't need to fart around, I could actually double my bomb load on this guy. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and not assign any of these to it. Okay. Now this pop up here, it's popping up now because it's the first time we've gone to this segment, right? But um, when we're doing this over and over and over again, it won't keep popping up. Okay. All right. So I'm gonna say no. I'm not doing anything. Then ammo selection. Here's a new feature that I added. Right. I did not like the fact that um, essentially you could launch a bomber with cruise missiles and SSMs and bombs all at one time, and only when you finally decide to attack something do you specify the actual type, right? Well, that's not really realistic. So here you're gonna set the ammo upon launch, okay? And that works best on on carrier groups, right? Um, you got to determine whether I'm carrying SSMs or whether I'm carrying bombs, okay? And then that'll determine what type of combat you can do later on. If I don't load bombs, then it's not gonna allow me to do a bomb combat, okay? So um, I think I want to do SSMs, right? Yeah, that's more fun and it's less likely to get uh kill my guy. So I'm gonna load SSMs. All right, so now it's asking me to add some other things to the activation group. This is not the same guy, right? This is a different one, right? So if we look, right, we got in this activation group, I got this guy, okay, and now it's asking me to add this guy, and it only allows me to add if you look, it's only allowed me to add stuff that's in that hex, okay. So what do I want to add to the activation groups? All right, so let's add the EW. We're gonna definitely want that. All right, it's asking EW can do high mission profile, but I don't want to do it, so I'm gonna say no. Then I do want to add, what do I want to add this recon? No, I probably want to have the recon as separate. Um, I want the recon to have separate activation groups so I can move them around and search out the area. So I'm going to not add this guy to that activation group. So so what I am going to do is I am going to add the bomber. And then once I add the bomber and I tell him I'm not doing his extended range, I'm also loading the SSMs for this cat. Um, Now I don't want to do anything else, so really the only thing left I want to do is I want to activate this group. Okay? So I'm gonna start activating everybody. I don't want to use full on any of these guys, even the slow guys, because I know they're around the. I know they're not gonna have to move that far, and I know that if I turn on full, they're gonna get detected very quickly. All right, so I'm gonna keep everybody on normal. Okay. Mhm. Russians got quite a bunch of. I think they have 8 submarines in this scenario. Goodness. Okay. Um, all right, activate. I'm going to activate all my task groups as well. I'm going to get them moving toward. All right, so I do want to create activation groups. I think I have, let me see, how many recon do I have in this? I have 2 recon, so I'm going to create 2 different recon groups. Okay, and yep, that's what I'm going to do. Okay, create activation group. I don't want to add that guy, so I'm going to skip past him. I'm going to activate. Then I'm going to create an activation group for this guy. And there's nothing left to add into it, so it just knows to move on. And I think for the Russians, there's nothing even left for them to activate, so it automatically moves on to the orders phase. Okay. Um, all right, so let's see. How long have we been recording? All right, we'll do a little of the orders, and then when it's ready to start doing the automation, I'll probably pause and then pick it up in another video. All right, so orders. This is the part I think that I've gotten some feedback on. I just want to make sure everyone understands how to do the orders. First of all, read this thing, okay? It tells you all the kind of things that you can do and how the automation works, okay? But I'm going to go ahead and close it and kind of explain how that all works. All right. So think of it this way: you're not actually moving anything right now. You're just giving orders that the automation will do once you skip past this step, right? So both sides are going to get a chance to do orders, and then what the automation is going to do is it's going to attempt to kind of move through it. So it's essentially going to move through 10 cycles of movement. During all 10 of those cycles, it's going to move air around. During the fifth cycle, it's going to move ships. Okay, so essentially, right, planes will basically move half their movement before a ship moves its movement, and then planes will finish their 5 hexes um, when at that point, right? And the automation will attempt to basically do that without um, you know without giving you something to do, right? It's basically going to try to do it on its own. Now it will interrupt. It'll get interrupted by several different things. If let's say so it's going to go 10 cycles, right? 10 cycles of movement. If your aircraft, you only give them a movement's worth like 3 or 4 hexes, then after the third or fourth cycle of those 10, it's going to stop and say, hey, you need to continue giving the aircraft movement orders. Okay? If anything gets detected from your side, so in other words, if you detect something, then or if aircraft get within range of some of your surface, it's going to stop and it's going to tell you why it's stopping. Okay? So that's at least what the code is written to do. Hopefully it works. All right, so what am I going to do? So for what I'm just going to do is I'm just going to get these guys on search patterns, right? So we know that tankers are trying to get up here. We know that AA are trying to get here, and we know that uh, the convoys are trying to get down here, right? So I'm basically just going to start moving around because I don't really know where I'm going. All right, so now notice, okay, now for attacking, okay, so um, what the game does is it says, hey, where your current location is, do I have any attacks that I can do? And it'll be smart enough to figure it out. So right now, because this, I think what 18 hexes is the range of Soviet cruise missiles. So this guy could do a CM attack right now if he wanted to. Okay, he could hit one of these air bases or a port or something like that, right? Um, I don't know how you want to do it, but I don't want to fire anything because if I fire stuff and the Americans happen to be close to me, they're gonna detect me and then they're gonna drop stuff on me, right? So I'm gonna go ahead and keep quiet for a little while until I got something to shoot at, and I'm not gonna waste CM attacks right now. I got plenty of time to attack CMs later. Okay, so how do I actually move around? So I'm just gonna drag around. I'm gonna say I want to drag. I'm gonna do something like this. I'm gonna do like a little that. Okay. So what this shows is every time you do that, it moves the destination mark. So every single unit that you're activating will have itself and it'll have its destination. Okay. And this will show that, hey, I have moved 4 movement points here, but um, I will have 0 by the time I finish whatever orders you've given me. Okay. Now, what that means is it's going to take this guy 4 turn. Basically, it's going to take. He's not even going to make it to here this turn, right? He's going to make it from here to here to here. 1, 2, 3, 4. He's going to make it to here by the end of the turn. What's great is you can set like long movements, and it'll just keep moving them over and over again throughout the turns. Okay, so for this guy, it's going to take him. He can move 4 in this turn, and he'll end up right about here at the end, unless something happens, he detects something, and we change his orders. Okay, so I can just hit reset orders. It'll get rid of any attacks he's planned at this point, and it'll get rid of all of his movement orders as well. Okay, it'll take him where his current position is, which is where we show him. Okay, so I'm going to do it again. Oops, I just messed up a little. So there, let me try it again. Now I can move this. And for destinations, you can either move the ship or the destination mark. It doesn't matter. It's the same thing. Okay? All right, so let's just start doing stuff. Okay? All these guys are gonna go in little search patterns here. Okay? Now, I don't know about you, I just think this is neat. All right, so this guy can only move 1, right? So I can give him a big long thing, but it doesn't matter. He's not going to be able to do anything. He's not going to be able to do a whole lot. So I'm just going to tell him to do in this little search pattern. Okay, it'll probably take. Now let's reset those. I don't want to do that. I want to keep a nice, neat, circular kind of thing here. Okay. All right, and let's move on. Okay. All right. So who is this? This is the CV Novarisk. Okay. So CV Novarisk. I don't really know what I want this guy to do, so I'm just going to give him like a wide search pattern that generally covers this area here. Okay, so I'm just going to kind of have him go. So we'll start here. He'll do this action. He'll do this, and we'll just kind of put him on like a patrol right there. Okay. Um, these guys are the let's see. These are the, if I remember correctly, these are the AA groups. Yeah, or oh no, I'm sorry, the convoys. Okay, great. So, so he's his is you can zigzag with him, I guess, if you want to zigzag, right? But I'm basically just gonna have him trace through this whole thing until he gets down to Cameron. Okay, that's gonna take him a little bit of time to get down to Cameron, right? Okay, but that's where he's gonna go. This guy, same thing. I'll discuss this part in a second. Okay. All right. So they're heading there. Um, Remember I mentioned that I said for certain objective ships like these slow convoys, they are removable from the game. Okay. You don't want to remove them yet because they haven't reached their objective. Okay. But once they get to the objective, right, you can remove them so that they can't be attacked, right? So it's just a little convenience thing. For some of the larger scenarios, like my dream is to have like a big, super strategic scenario where ships are constantly going, across the sea, picking up supplies and bringing them back to Europe for the war effort. You're never going to want to remove those objective ships. So you wouldn't set them when you do your setup. You wouldn't set them to be removable. But for short terms, small scenarios that don't have like the giant scope, then that's why you would want to remove them. Okay, so let's just start. Let's finish all our orders. Okay, now here's the. Let's see. That's the destination. All right, we're just gonna skip past these guys till we get to okay, a bomber group. Okay, so these bomber groups. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna kind of have these guys loitering around right until they find something to do. Since they're looking for SSMs, and we know that the essentially this area is going to be very busy. I definitely want to get them moving around, but obviously I want to watch out for any cap that I might run into because they'll get intercepted by cap during the automation. Okay, so let's have these guys go up here. Okay, if they happen to because we're not going to be running them in recon mode, I think they essentially have to run right over a ship in order to see them, and then hopefully that ship doesn't have area SAMs, which most of the American ships will. So you don't want to blindly follow them. You don't want to blindly fly them into areas that you don't know where the ships are. So anyway, so figure, whatever. By the time I get to that, so this is 16 moves. It's going to take him at least one full cycle to get there. Okay. All right. What else we got? Here's another recon group. Now this recon group, you want to be careful, right? So you got 60 slots, and since he's a IL-38, my guess is, um, what I want to do is I want to protect against subs. So I want to be ready to attack subs if I need be. I don't know if I want to waste so much movement on trying to search ships out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have this guy just kind of get up here, and then we'll figure out what we do with them after. Okay. Anyway, this is obviously this is like a completely different way that the game works from your through the table, the physical game. Okay. All right, here's another recon group. This guy's got 70 space, so I'm gonna want and I think right now his surface search is 0, but I believe this plane has the ability. Um, I think what I'll do is I'll make a little adjustment here so that um, you'll see that his surface search is currently 0 because he's not in recon mode, but I'll make it like 0 slash something so that you know what his max surface search is. But essentially, any recon plane, especially like the big ones, what type of, I'm trying to remember what's in this guy. Um, what's in this guy? T16D. So I think he's probably like a 2. He might be a 2. Most recon, I think, are 2 or 1 or something like that. Um, I think the way I did it was like attack aircraft that like are air to ground specialists. I kind of gave them like a 1 range. Most recon are going to be 2. Some recon are going to be higher than that. But I think what I'll do is I'll do a little enhancement here where on the surface search piece it'll show 0 of blank, so you know what your max is. Okay. All right. So anyway, um, all right. So this guy. I don't know what we want to do with him. Okay. But I know we don't really. I don't think we want to search for ships over here. So I'm gonna start making them go over here, and so now you can start getting really tactical about things, right? Like you probably want your recon to maybe be a little bit in front of your bombers, right? Have your bombers lag behind, have them kind of waste time, like kind of meandering, loitering until you find something with your recon, and then you get your recon out of there, and then you attack with your bombers. Okay, so um, all right. So what else we got? I think I got him. I think pretty much everybody's got orders. Let's see. No, not everybody. All these guys. So what are these guys gonna do? Who knows? These guys are like slow as hell, and I don't really know what they're gonna do. So they're gonna be looking around for stuff. Maybe you strategic geniuses over there, you guys can give better orders than I'm giving, but we'll let's see. This guy is basically he thinks my guess would be I'm probably gonna kind of sit him like right about here, right? Um I'm just gonna move him there. I don't really know what I want to do, but basically if someone's trying to get to these places, then likely stuff's gonna be traveling around here, right? So I'm just gonna get myself in the middle of it. All right, same thing with here. I think this guy's gonna be this guy's going to be doing a little search pattern here, and this guy will do a little search pattern here. And finally, has everybody got orders? You'll be doing this a lot, going through all your shifts to see order. And the way you know they got orders is you look at their movement points. If their movement points say some number to a lesser number, then you know you did give them, you gave them orders. Okay, so I think everybody's good. Okay, so I'm gonna hit next. This should go to the Americans. Okay, what am I doing for the Americans? And what's lovely is, right, like, yeah, I generally know where the enemy is, but I don't know exactly where it is because there's so much stuff on the board, right? So it's honestly kind of, even playing solitaire, you can kind of keep a little bit of a double blind kind of thing. Unless you have a photographic memory, you can remember exactly where everything is. So this guy can do a CM attack right now, and maybe it makes sense, right? It might make sense for him to do a CM attack on Camran or well, I don't even know where the aircraft are, right? That's another cool thing about it, right? You don't really know where the aircraft are, and aircraft can get detected, right? And if they get detected, then they're going to stay detected like through that through the phase until they run out until they go out of range of things. Okay, so aircraft kind of come into detection and out of detection as they get detected by things, right? There's no magic where you know exactly that they flew all the way back to this carrier that was 20 hexes away, because once they get within 2 or 3 hexes away from you, they'll disappear again. Okay, anyway, so so I'm just gonna kind of go on a little recon here. Okay, same thing with this guy. Okay. All right. Let's see. Honestly, now you saw it took a big pause there. Well, that's because it was calculating these cruise missiles, and he's not in any range. But it's figuring out the range of what things I can hit. And speaking of, it doesn't make any sense for these guys to go on a well, maybe this guy can go on a little bit of a recon, right? But this guy, honestly, he should he knows everything's going toward Camran, right? So, well, he should make a beeline to Camran, right? And then kind of figure out what he's doing after that. So it doesn't make sense for him to be loitering around because he knows stuff's trying to get down there. So might as well try to intercept it. This guy, he's basically protecting the. I think his job is really to protect these tankers as they're moving. So I'm gonna kind of try to like get. I'm gonna try to get with them and then try to work alongside them. So I think he's about as fast as these guys. Right? Yeah, he's as fast as these guys, right? So once he catches up to them, he can kind of provide some good security. So I'm gonna start moving him down this way. Okay. This task force has got the MPs, so I'm gonna move him. Basically, I'm just gonna move him on a direct line with a little bit of zigzag here, um, all the way to here. Okay, it's gonna take him a while to get there. Okay. This guy is this carrier. This guy is gonna be a little bit of a he'll be a little bit of a patrol area there. Okay. This is I think this is the fast convoy. Okay, so he's heading to the Philippines. So I'll just kind of have him do that. This is the recon group. Okay, so recon group. So this recon group, I want him to kind of move in this area and start, and then I might start turning him around. Now he's a P3, right? So do I want to use him for surface recon or do I want to use him for anti-submarine, right? So, um, it probably. What did I end up doing? I only assigned one, right? So I kept one in reserve. So yeah, I think this guy will do like surface search because if we can blow away the Soviet surface soon, then then I can just concentrate on killing subs. So I'm just gonna fly him around this area, and then essentially at some point I'm gonna turn on recon and let him look for that. All right, these guys. All right, so these guys are pretty much they all gotta go where right? They all gotta go up here between these. Okay, and once they reach there, I'll uh I'll take them out or remove them from the game. So this guy's going this way. Okay, and then this guy is doing the same thing, but I don't want to take obvious routes, right? Okay. What else we got? Who's left? Sub, 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 sub. Okay. Wait, oops. This guy. Um, all right. I don't want to dock, but I could dock if I was coming there, but I don't want to dock. I don't want to remove the ejective ships. These are AA guys, and they got to get up to Bataan. Okay, so I'm going to start moving them and hope that these guys don't run into any sneaky Soviet subs. Okay, what else we got? He's good. He's good. 404. Looks like we got everything we need. Okay, so um, well, hold on to your butts, as Samuel L. Jackson said. Right? I hope this code does work, but I want to make sure. I want to make sure it works. We're gonna go until the very first thing happens that it interrupts me. So we'll just see, and it might not interrupt me. It might get all the way to the point where it did 10 cycles, and everybody's ready for orders again. Okay. All right. Let's try it out. Let's see what. So right now, what it's trying to do is it's trying to move 10 aircraft. Air unit has no orders. Okay, so somebody ran into a problem, but where they don't have any orders. We ran out of space. So let's see who. Oh, makes sense, right? MP51. All right, so we got all the way to. Okay, so the logic works. Cycle 9. He got to cycle 9 of automation. It basically goes in 10 10 cycles, right? So if I would have stretched his destination out a little bit more, right? Then it wouldn't have stopped me. But it did stop me because I only gave him 9 hexes of orders and he had to run 10. So you can use that as a tool, right? Like if you know that I expect to find something very soon, like in other words, what you could do is for your air, you could just set them 1 hex each time. And so it'll constantly keep stopping and giving you a chance to react. Now it'll also stop you if you see things, so it doesn't really make sense to do that. But the point is like for instance, let's say that in 5 hexes I'm going to be over a base and I'm going to bomb them. Okay, so then you would only do his movement orders till he gets over the base. Once you get to the base, it'll stop because you now have no orders, and that'll give you a chance to bomb them. Okay, so that's this is pretty much how the whole activity cycle is going to go. I'm going to pause here, and what we're going to do is we're going to continue on the next time and hopefully get into some battles. But nobody has cited anything. Okay. So I'm just gonna, yeah. All right. So hopefully this looks like it makes sense to you guys, and I really hope that you guys enjoy this gameplay that I'm adding in. It's definitely a different thing than the the move all your stuff at one time thing, and hopefully you guys enjoy that. Anyway, thanks a lot, and I'll talk to you guys the next time.